Hey guys, tonight we're going to do something simple and quietly enormous at the same time. We're going to lie back, close our eyes, and look up, way up, into the deep dark above us. Somewhere between your pillow and the edges of a universe, there's a whole story waiting to be told. It's a story about scale, about where we fit in, and about the beautiful absurdity of being small in such a gigantic place. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're in the mood, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Imagine lying in bed, your face turned toward a window. Maybe there's a faint glow outside, streetlights spilling on the leaves, the thin sound of cars in the distance. The sky just dark enough that you can see a few stubborn stars blinking through the haze. Those little dots have been there every night of your life, even when clouds or city lights hide them. They're ancient light, traveling across impossible distances just to reach your half-closed eyes before sleep. That faint shimmer overhead might look still, but it's anything but. Every point you see is a sun, not a reflection, not a hole in the sky, an actual burning nuclear furnace, each one with its own planets, its own stories, its own versions of home. And those suns? They're part of a spiral structure we call the Milky Way, a name so familiar we forget how lovely it sounds. Milk Way, like spilled light across the night, flowing gently, curling around a center we can't see, but can somehow feel. If the clouds cleared and your eyes were as sensitive as a telescope's, you'd see that band of light stretch from horizon to horizon, a hazy ribbon made from hundreds of billions of stars, woven together with dust and gas. You're not outside of it, looking in. You're inside the swirl, one small dot of matter orbiting the galactic core at a breathtaking speed you'll never feel. Right now, even as you breathe slow and even, you're moving. Your entire solar system's spinning around that center at roughly 220 kilometers per second. But you don't feel the wind of it. You don't hear the rush. Because everything around you, the pillow, the bed, the air itself, is caught in the same silent motion. We are passengers on a grand wheel, so vast that it takes about 230 million years to complete one rotation. The last time Earth was in this same position in its orbit around the Milky Way, dinosaurs ruled the land, and the continents were still fused together in Pangaea. And here you are now, maybe in your 20s or 60s, breathing, stretching, getting ready for sleep, traveling through that same ancient route. You're part of a motion older than mountains, quieter than the deepest ocean, and bigger than words can comfortably hold. Try to picture it. The galaxy, our home, floating in the dark like a glowing pinwheel, 100,000 light years across. It's not a solid disk, but a thin, spiraling plane of stars and nebulae and invisible dark matter, gently warped like a vinyl record that's been left in the sun too long. Out on one of its slender arms, the Orion Arm, you and everyone you've ever known orbit around a rather ordinary star, our sun. The Milky Way isn't the kind of place you could walk across, of course. A light year, the distance light travels in a single year, is about 9.5 trillion kilometers. Even if you could move at the speed of light itself, it would take you 100,000 years just to go from one side of the galaxy to the other. But if you did, if somehow you could look back across all that distance, the Milky Way wouldn't look like a band of light anymore. It would look like a spiral storm of gold and silver dust, arms curling gracefully outward, stars packed densely in the middle and thinning toward the edges. Somewhere near that edge, tucked inside the Orion Arm, is us, a small solar system orbiting quietly with 8 planets, a handful of dwarf worlds, and a sprinkle of moons, comets, and rocks. From where you lie, that might sound huge, but in galactic terms, it's almost comically tiny. If the Milky Way were shrunk to the size of North America, our entire solar system would fit inside a coffee cup, maybe smaller. And the Earth? The Earth would be smaller than a virus inside that cup. It's almost funny, isn't it? We build skyscrapers and nations and stories. We argue about whose corner of the coffee cup is more important, and all the while we're spinning through the galaxy, holding on to our warm little sphere of air and water, pretending it's the center of everything. But that's okay. That's the beauty of it. The smallness doesn't belittle us. It gives us perspective. You don't have to be large to be meaningful. Every star, every atom, every heartbeat contributes its rhythm to the vast, shared hum of the universe. And in that hum, even a whisper can matter. Now imagine drifting upward gently, like a feather rising on a breeze. Your ceiling fades away, the roof melts into transparency, and suddenly you're hovering above your neighborhood, watching the lights below turn into a constellation of their own. Higher still, the city becomes a spark, the land curves, and you see the blue marble of Earth turning slowly in space. There's the moon, quiet and pale, keeping us company as it has for billions of nights. Beyond it, the planets, Venus bright as a jewel, Jupiter swirling with storms larger than Earth itself, Saturn's rings slicing through the black. Each one a miniature world, each one a story of its own. But even together, the planets and the sun they orbit are just a tiny patch of glitter in the grand galactic sea. From this height, our solar system feels intimate, everything bound by gravity's invisible arms, dancing to a rhythm older than memory. The sun holds us in its embrace, a family of worlds following paths carved by physics and time. And that family, in turn, belongs to something even larger, the Milky Way's enormous community of stars. Out there, stars form in clouds of gas and dust, in great nurseries called nebulae. Imagine drifting through one, a vast cradle of color where hydrogen atoms collide and fuse into light. Some of those stars will burn for billions of years, while others will die young and violet, exploding in a supernovae that scatter heavy elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, into space. The same elements in your blood, in the air you breathe, in the pillow beneath your head. We are quite literally recycled starlight. When astronomers look at the Milky Way through telescopes, they don't just see stars, they see history written in light. The older stars glow a soft orange, while the younger ones sparkle blue-white. Clouds of dust trace the spiral arms like veins. And deep in the galactic center, hidden behind curtains of cosmic dust, something powerful stirs. Sagittarius, a asterisk, the supermassive black hole around which everything turns. We'll visit it soon, but for now, just let the image linger, a swirling heart of darkness, pulling stars into graceful orbits. You might think the Milky Way is all there is, that our home galaxy fills the universe. But beyond its glowing edge lies something larger, stranger, almost impossible to grasp. Out past the faint halo of scattered stars, the night keeps going. If you could keep traveling, faster than any ship could fly, you'd start to see other galaxies, spirals, ellipticals, irregular clusters of light, each one a city of suns. The Milky Way is just one of roughly 2 trillion galaxies we can estimate exist, and that number keeps changing as our telescopes get better. Even that thought, 2 trillion, barely fits inside the mind. It's like trying to count sand grains on every beach, on every planet, in every possible world. But that's the reality of our universe. Immensity is its default setting, and we, tiny creatures made of carbon and curiosity, are somehow able to look up and notice it. So, as you lie there, the soft fan humming, your body slowly melting into the mattress, remember this. The faint light of the Milky Way you see at night isn't just a pretty decoration. It's the edge of an enormous disk of stars that holds us, spins us, and shelters us in its gravitational embrace. You're part of that structure, every atom in you dancing to the same cosmic tune as distant suns. Let that thought loosen your shoulders. You don't have to understand every equation or memorize every distance. Just feel the rhythm of it, the quiet pulse of existence stretching from your heartbeat to the farthest galaxy. It's all connected, and it's all still moving. And as you start to drift closer to sleep, imagine that you're floating outward with it. The room around you softens, the air thickens like water, and the last bits of earthly noise fade into the background. You're not leaving home, you're just expanding your sense of it. You're part of the Milky Way, part of something impossibly vast, yet gentle enough to cradle you as you dream. Picture yourself still drifting, still rising softly above the planet, the hum of your fan fading until all you hear is your own breathing, steady, calm, effortless. The blue marble below turns slowly, its clouds moving like thoughts across the surface of a dreaming mind. You're so high now that the whole earth fits beneath your fingertips. And as you keep floating, the sun brightens, its light glinting off oceans and glass and snow until everything below melts into gold. The warmth fades, and you find yourself in the dark again. The kind of darkness that isn't empty but full, the kind that shimmers with faint silver threads. That's when you begin to see it. The Milky Way, not the flat strip of haze you glimpse from your backyard or through a plane window. Not the faint white band that city lights wash away. No, here from this vantage point, you can see the entire galaxy like a living thing. A spiral, pale and graceful, curling through the void. Imagine it rotating in absolute silence. Arms of stars stretching outward, gas clouds glowing softly, nebulae blooming like slow-motion flowers. You drift closer, and the light around you thickens. Each speck that seemed like dust a moment ago becomes a sun, enormous and steady, each one surrounded by planets, moons, and rings. You're entering the Milky Way itself now, the place we call home. It feels almost alive, like a great organism breathing through time. At first glance, it seems calm, but if you could speed up the clock, you'd see its arms twist, stretch, and shimmer. Stars are born in the spiral arms, glowing blue-white and young. Others age and redden, expanding and fading into quiet embers. Supernovae bloom like cosmic fireworks and fade again. The galaxy's heartbeat is slow, but it's steady, a rhythm that's been pulsing for over 13 billion years. Somewhere about halfway from the center to the edge, nestled in a little spur between the Sagittarius and Perseus arms, lies the Orion arm, our neighborhood. It's a relatively peaceful region, far from the violent chaos near the galactic core. The stars here drift more calmly. The gas is thinner, the space wider. This is where our sun lives, a rather average star, neither too hot nor too cold, born about 4.5 billion years ago in a cloud of dust and hydrogen. Around it, planets formed, including one covered in liquid water and oxygen and carbon, a planet that would one day start asking questions about where it came from. That's us, right there, floating around a star that's one of about 200 billion in this single galaxy. Think about that for a moment. If every person on Earth had their own personal sun, the Milky Way would still have more stars left over. Each one of those could have its own worlds, its own moons, maybe even its own listeners wondering what's beyond their sky. As you drift among the stars, the light feels thick, warm, and endless. The galaxy stretches around you like a glittering disk, 100,000 light years from side to side, but only about 1,000 light years thick in the plane. It's astonishingly flat. If you could shrink the Milky Way down to the size of a dinner plate, it would be thinner than a sheet of paper. Yet in that paper-thin plane are countless stars, dust clouds, and the slow spirals of gas drawn together by gravity. The arms themselves are not solid things. They're patterns, waves of density moving through the disk like ripples through water. Stars drift in and out of them as they orbit the center. It's like traffic on a cosmic highway. The stars move, but the jam, the spiral arm, stays where the crowding happens. Within those crowded regions, gas compresses and new stars ignite, giving the arms their brightness. You're floating through a place of creation, a nursery of light. And as you move closer toward the galactic center, things begin to change. The number of stars increases until space feels almost crowded. The colors shift. Reds and oranges dominate as older, cooler stars outnumber the young. Dust thickens, hiding what lies ahead. The air, or what passes for air in your imagination, grows heavy with invisible radiation. You can feel the pull, the gentle but relentless tug of gravity drawing everything inward towards something powerful, something mysterious. But before we reach that heart, let's linger for a moment here, halfway in. Look around. This is the part of the galaxy where we live, where constellations scatter across our night sky, where the light from distant nebulae travels thousands of years to brush against your retinas. You can see the Eagle Nebula glowing faint green, the birthplace of newborn stars. The Orion Nebula, a purple cloud with bright blue wings, where stellar winds sculpt pillars of dust into intricate shapes. If you could listen instead of look, you'd hear radiation humming, hydrogen clouds whispering, magnetic fields crackling in soft, inaudible tones. All of it is quiet to our ears, yet it hums with life. The stars are talking in the only language they know: light, heat, gravity. The same language that built you. Every atom of calcium in your bones, every molecule of iron in your blood, was forged in a dying star's heart and scattered when that star exploded long ago. We are, in the most literal sense, pieces of the Milky Way, remembering what it feels like to look back at itself. The spiral arms keep turning. It takes our sun about 230 million years to make a single orbit around the galaxy. That means in all of human history, we haven't even gone one full loop. The dinosaurs might have looked up at a slightly different set of neighboring stars, but the same galactic shape surrounded them. Everything changes so slowly on this scale that a million years feels like a moment. Drifting closer to the center, the starfield grows so dense it looks like fog. There are no gaps anymore, no black sky, just light piled upon light until space itself glows gold. Here lies the bulge, the thick heart of the Milky Way, where ancient stars swarm like bees around something unseen. It's the oldest part of the galaxy, nearly as old as time itself, filled with relics from when the Milky Way was young and wild. And there, at the very core, hidden behind veils of dust, lies Sagittarius, a star. You can't see it directly, it swallows light whole, but you can sense it, a deep gravity pressing on the air, bending everything around it. For a million times the mass of the sun, compressed into a region smaller than our solar system. Stars whip around it at thousands of kilometers per second, tracing invisible circles in the dark. Yet here, in this terrifying stillness, there's beauty. The black hole isn't a monster, it's an anchor. Without it, the Milky Way's delicate spiral might never have held together. It keeps our galaxy balanced, its gravity a quiet hand holding the stars in place. As you watch the stars near the core flicker and whirl, time feels strange. Minutes stretch, centuries blur. Out here, everything is relative. Gravity bends not just light, but time itself. Near the black hole, seconds could pass for hours, days, or years depending on where you're standing. And yet the universe doesn't hurry. It just breathes, expands, evolves. You drift away again, back toward the quieter outskirts where our sun moves in its patient orbit. The stars thin out, the golden fog fades, and once more you can see the elegant shape of the galaxy curling around you. Each arm is a river of light, flowing outward into the dark. Beyond the edges of that disk, the stars don't stop abruptly. They fade, scattered into a vast halo of ancient, dim suns and invisible dark matter. The halo stretches hundreds of thousands of light years, like a soft glow surrounding the galaxy. And outside, even that faint halo lies the space between galaxies. A space so empty it defies description. A few lonely stars drift there, exiled by gravitational tugs, or collisions long ago. Beyond them, more galaxies wait, like distant cities flickering on the horizon of the universe. But we'll get to them soon. For now, let yourself sink into the calm knowledge of where you are, a tiny being made of star stuff, resting inside one arm of a colossal spiral, moving quietly through eternity. As you breathe in, imagine the galaxy breathing with you, the faint expansion and contraction of stars born and dying, light flickering across the vast cosmic ocean. As you exhale, the motion slows, your body relaxes, and your mind drifts with it. The Milky Way doesn't need your attention. It's been shining for billions of years without anyone to name it. But tonight, for this moment, you're noticing it. You're part of its story. The stars don't hurry, and neither should you. Somewhere, light from a supernova that exploded when the first humans walked upright is just now reaching your planet. Somewhere else, a new sun is being born, its planets still molten and wild. Everything happens at once, and yet it feels like stillness. That's the secret of the Milky Way. It's motion and peace at the same time. So rest in that thought. Let the rhythm of the galaxy sync with your pulse. The arms keep turning, stars keep burning, and through it all, you drift quietly, safely, held in the spiral's gentle spin. You're still floating there, suspended in the gentle, endless glow of the Milky Way's spiral arms, watching stars drift by like slow lanterns on a river. For a long moment, everything feels perfectly still, as though the galaxy itself has stopped spinning just to let you take it all in. Then, almost imperceptibly, the view begins to shift. You're drawn toward a familiar patch of light, a tiny spark halfway along one of the arms. It's not brighter than the others, not bigger or grander, but that one right there is ours. That's the sun. As you drift closer, the vast sea of stars begins to thin, and the single point of light starts to expand, glowing warmer, more golden, until it fills your vision. It's not harsh or burning here. The heat feels like a summer afternoon on your skin, gentle and comforting. You've arrived home again, at least in cosmic terms. Our solar system, a small bubble of warmth in the infinite dark. From this quiet vantage point, the sun looks calm, but it's a restless thing, a sphere of plasma boiling and turning on itself. Magnetic fields twist and snap across its surface. Great arcs of flame leap thousands of kilometers into space. It's chaos contained, and yet somehow perfectly balanced. For 4.5 billion years, it's been burning like this, steady enough for life to rise and breathe and wonder on one of its tiny satellites. You drift past the glow, past Mercury, that little world so close to the fire it never really knows night. Then Venus, veiled and mysterious, thick clouds hiding a landscape that could melt lead. Earth comes next, wrapped in blue and white, the only planet that sparkles with oceans and cities and laughter. You can almost see yourself down there, a tiny dreamer staring up at the same sun from a completely different angle. Then comes Mars, dry and red, with canyons that once held rivers, perhaps. You glide past its dusty plains and turn toward the belt of rock and debris that lies beyond it, the asteroid belt, leftovers from the solar system's construction, still orbiting like forgotten tools after a great project was finished. Further out, Jupiter waits, a giant of storms and swirling clouds, striped in oranges and creams. Its gravity is so strong it shapes the motion of the entire solar system, pulling comets off their paths, keeping the inner world safe from too many collisions. It's a kind of protector in its own way. Saturn follows, serene and majestic, its rings glowing faintly in the starlight, each one made of ice and rock as delicate as powdered glass. And beyond them, the outer worlds, Uranus, tilted and pale, rolling like a sleepy marble through the dark. Neptune, deep blue and distant, where winds scream faster than sound. And then, past the edge of known warmth, the Kuiper Belt, a frozen ring of icy remnants circling in silence. Pluto drifts there, small and stubborn, still tracing its long, looping path around the sun. This is your neighborhood. The whole solar system spans about 100 astronomical units from the sun to the outermost reaches of its influence. That's roughly 15 billion kilometers, give or take. Enormous, yes, but compared to the galaxy, it's just a dust mote. To cross from here to the next nearest star, Proxima Centauri, light itself would need more than 4 years. And that's the closest neighbor we have. Between those two stars lies almost nothing. Empty space, a few stray atoms per cubic meter, occasional comets wandering aimlessly. It's hard to imagine that kind of emptiness, a silence so pure it's almost a presence in itself. But somehow, within that emptiness, gravity still weaves its invisible web, binding everything together in quiet harmony. When you pull back again, further still, you start to see the solar system for what it really is, a faint bubble of light orbiting a much greater whole. The sun, our life giver, is just one spark among 200 billion others scattered across this spiral galaxy. Our home star doesn't stand out in any way. It's not the biggest or the hottest or the brightest. In fact, it's about as ordinary as a star can be. Astronomers have a name for its type, G2V. A yellow dwarf, middle-aged, stable, quietly burning hydrogen into helium. And that ordinariness is kind of beautiful. It means we're not special in a lonely way. We're part of a pattern, a repeating rhythm across the cosmos. There are billions of suns like ours, and maybe billions of planets like Earth circling them, each one with its own sky, its own stories waiting to unfold. As you drift through the space around the sun, you notice faint trails of light, tiny comets with long, ghostly tails. They glow for a moment, then fade into the dark again. Some of them have been out here since the beginning, relics of the solar system's youth, frozen archives of our origins. Others have been nudged inward recently by the gravity of passing stars, on their way to disintegrate near the sun's warmth. Everything here is in motion, everything changing, and yet it all feels peaceful. You drift past the heliopause, the invisible boundary where the solar wind meets the interstellar medium, the true edge of our sun's reach. The Voyager probes, tiny human-made emissaries, crossed this line years ago. They're still out there now, billions of kilometers from home, drifting silently through the dark, their instruments still whispering faint signals back to Earth. Each carries a golden record, music, greetings, a map to our home. It's a message in a bottle, cast into a cosmic ocean so vast it almost guarantees never to be found. And yet, we send it anyway, because that's what humans do. We reach out, even when no one's there to reach back. Now you turn around, looking back toward the sun one last time. From out here, it's just another bright point in a sea of stars, no different from the thousands surrounding it. You could pick any one of them, and it would look the same. And yet that tiny light is home. It's where every breath you've ever taken began. The photons leaving the sun right now will reach Earth in about 8 minutes, warming faces, powering trees, glinting off oceans. The same light that's touching your closed eyelids tonight began its journey at the heart of that star, deep in a core so dense and hot it takes a single photon thousands of years to escape to the surface before flying out into space. You think about that, the patience of light, the quiet persistence of energy that travels across the universe just to be seen. Every starlit night is full of those journeys, millions of years in the making. As you let that idea sink in, you start to feel a strange, comforting sense of proportion. You, the sun, the galaxy, it's all part of one immense, unfolding pattern. Energy flows from one place to another. Stars form and die. Matter recycles itself endlessly. There's no hard boundary between us and the universe. The atoms in your body are the same ones forged in some long-dead star, now reassembled into consciousness, into breath, into curiosity. The sun, our star, is one heartbeat in that rhythm. And the Milky Way, magnificent and vast, is just one of countless others. You're not a bystander to it. You're woven into it. That's the quiet truth that hums beneath everything. We are the universe noticing itself through a pair of human eyes, through a quiet mind getting ready to fall asleep. And as you begin to drift deeper into rest, imagine the light of our sun spilling gently into the darkness around you, fading into the Milky Way's soft glow. The arms of the galaxy curl around it protectively, carrying it through space like a firefly caught in a slow-moving current. Every world, every star, every life form, everything is moving together, and somehow that motion feels still enough to sleep in. You're still drifting, surrounded by that soft galactic glow when the light around you begins to thicken again. Stars crowd closer together, their orbits curving in slow spirals as if they're being drawn towards something unseen. You can feel it before you see it, a deep, invisible pull that isn't violent but absolute. Gravity, the most patient sculptor in the universe, is guiding you toward the Milky Way's hidden heart. The space here feels different. It's warmer with light, golden and ancient, a place where stars pack tighter and time seems to breathe slower. Each star's motion is like a thread, looping endlessly around an unseen center. The further you go, the more you realize how immense the galaxy's core really is. Thousands of suns for every patch of sky, so dense they almost merge into one continuous brilliance. And still, at the center of it all, there's a darkness, a void so complete it glows with its own kind of mystery. Sagittarius, a star. It's strange to think that at the core of something so full of light lies something that swallows it. A black hole, for a million times the mass of our sun, small enough to fit inside the orbit of Mercury. It doesn't shine, it doesn't reflect. It simply bends reality around itself, pulling light into endless circles, warping time and space like fabric being twisted in slow motion. You can't see it directly, but you can feel its presence in the way everything else moves. The stars whipping around it in tight ellipses, like fireflies trapped in an invisible whirlpool. For a moment, you drift right up to its edge. There's no noise, no dramatic pulling sensation, no bright flash of danger. Just quiet, this close to the event horizon, the line where light itself can't escape. Time begins to stretch. Seconds drip like honey. A single heartbeat could last forever if you were standing here. From far away, anyone watching you would see you slow to a stop, frozen just above the black hole's lip. But to you, everything would keep flowing, soft and continuous. That's how gravity bends not just light, but experience itself. You hover there, watching light curve around the black hole like liquid gold. Gas and dust spiral inward, forming a glowing ring called the accretion disk. Temperatures soar to millions of degrees, yet from here it feels cold. You're outside time in the most absolute kind of silence. It's both terrifying and peaceful, the kind of stillness that feels like the universe holding its breath. Scientists used to only imagine what Sagittarius A asterisk might look like, but now we've seen its shadow, captured by an Earth-sized network of telescopes working together. The image shows that glowing halo of gas and light bending around the darkness, a cosmic eye at the heart of our galaxy. And while it may look ominous, it's not a destroyer. Not really. It's a balance point, a counterweight, the galaxy's quiet anchor, keeping everything in motion without ever moving itself. You begin to drift backward again, away from the heat and gravity, through the dense swarm of stars in the central bulge. These stars are old, many born when the Milky Way was still young, their orbits random and chaotic. It's like floating through a glittering storm, every spark a story billions of years long. The further you move, the more the density fades, the light thinning into graceful streams. Behind you, the black hole remains, patient and eternal. Around you, stars orbit in slow unison, their paths shaped by that single gravitational note humming from the center. It's easy to forget, lying in bed at night, how perfectly choreographed all of this is. Every star, every planet, every cloud of dust obeys the same quiet rule, moving in harmony without ever colliding. It's the calm order behind the apparent chaos. As you leave the central region, the stars spread out again. The galaxy's arms reappear, great sweeping lanes of light reaching outward into the dark. You can almost see how the Milky Way breathes, gas drawn inward by gravity, ignited into new stars, then blown back out by stellar winds and explosions, only to cool and return again. Creation and destruction, feeding each other in an endless cycle. Even the black hole plays its part, pulling in matter that, through friction and radiation, seeds the next generation of stars. Everything in the universe recycles. Even darkness feeds the light. You drift past a small cluster of bright blue stars, newly born from collapsing clouds of gas. They're young and hot, only a few million years old, babies by cosmic standards. Their light spills across nearby nebulae, turning the gas into glowing sculptures of color. The contrast between these fresh, vivid stars and the ancient red giants you just passed through is striking. The galaxy isn't one age, one time, or one story. It's all of them at once. Now, as you move further out, away from the core's thick brilliance, you start to see individual features again. Spiral arms curling like brushstrokes across a vast black canvas. Dust lanes thread through them, cold rivers of material waiting to become stars. From this perspective, the Milky Way looks both fragile and unstoppable, its beauty effortless like it is all the time in the world. And it does. You think about how strange it is that something so enormous can feel so delicate. A galaxy made of hundreds of billions of stars, yet from a distance, it glows like a faint ribbon you could almost wipe away with your thumb. Maybe that's why people have always loved looking up at the night sky. It's like staring at infinity and realizing how gentle it can be. You start to sense motion again, the slow turn of the galaxy carrying you along one of its arms. Somewhere far out, your own sun orbits quietly, part of the great current flowing around the center. It's strange to realize that all of this is happening right now, while you lie still in your bed, eyes closed. Every second, you move thousands of kilometers through space, carried along by the same forces that hold together entire galaxies. If you could hear it, the Milky Way would sound like a deep, low hum, gravity's vibration stretched across the fabric of the cosmos. Every orbit, every flicker of light, every falling atom contributes to that sound. It's the background music of existence, playing softly beneath your awareness. You drift higher now, above the galactic plane, so you can see the entire spiral again. The central bulge glows faintly golden, the arms fade into blues and whites, and the halo beyond is barely visible, a ghostly cloud of stars and dark matter surrounding it all. From up here, Sagittarius A** is invisible again, hidden beneath layers of light. But you know it's there, holding everything in its slow embrace. It's funny to think that what we call the center of our galaxy isn't a place anyone could stand on. There's no solid ground there, no surface or structure, just gravity bending everything inward. The Milky Way's heart is both everywhere and nowhere, an idea more than a location. It's the same with so much in the universe. We define it by its effects, by what it does to everything around it. And somehow, that feels familiar. Your own heart beats quietly inside you, unseen, yet everything depends on it. The galaxy's heart does the same. Maybe that's what connects us to it. Not just physically through shared atoms and gravity, but metaphorically through rhythm. A heartbeat in a galaxy of heartbeats, all pulsing through time together. As you begin to drift outward once more, leaving the golden glow behind, the starlight thins to silver, then blue, then finally to black. Ahead lies the rest of the Milky Way. Its arms, its satellites, its neighboring galaxies waiting in the darkness beyond. But for now, just hold this image in your mind. A spiral of stars turning around a dark, silent center, steady as a heartbeat, infinite as a dream. You keep drifting outward, feeling the pull of the Milky Way lessen as more galaxies come into view around you. The darkness between them isn't empty anymore. It's laced with faint glimmers, like dew caught on an invisible web. You've entered a region where gravity's reach is delicate but certain, a soft choreography that's been unfolding for billions of years. This is the local group's quiet dance, and you're floating right in the middle of it. The Milky Way and Andromeda are the two lead dancers here, massive spirals bound to each other by gravity. They move so slowly that from our perspective, they might as well be still, but on the scale of cosmic time, their steps are deliberate and inevitable. Every second brings them a little closer, a fraction of a kilometer nearer, drawn together by an attraction that's been building since before the Earth formed. Between them stretches a vast gulf, 2.5 million light-years of thin space, sprinkled with smaller companions drifting in their orbits. Some are dwarfs, faint and irregular, barely holding themselves together. Others are compact and round, like tiny pearls of starlight. Each one has its own rhythm, circling, swaying, sometimes colliding gently with its neighbors before drifting apart again. You can almost hear the music of it, a sound too low and deep for ears, but felt like a pulse in your bones. You glide past one of the smaller galaxies, the Triangulum Galaxy, the third largest member of this cosmic family. It's graceful and shy, with delicate spiral arms that shimmer blue from newborn stars. It sits between the Milky Way and Andromeda, as though trying to keep the peace between two giants. Some astronomers think it might one day join their merging, becoming part of the great combined system. Others think it will spin on, a quiet observer to the grand collision. Either way, it belongs to this neighborhood, to this cosmic cluster of motion and light. When you look back, you can see how the galaxies are strung together, tiny bridges of stars and gas linking them like faint trails of smoke. These are tidal streams, the remnants of ancient collisions and near misses, where galaxies brushed close enough to pull stars out of each other's arms. They stretch across space in gentle curves, ghostly reminders that nothing in the universe ever stays completely apart. You drift closer to one of these streams and realize it isn't empty. Stars move through it like sparks drifting from a campfire, slow and glowing. Some of them were born in the Milky Way, others in smaller galaxies that long ago dissolved into its halo. Our galaxy carries those memories. Millions of stolen stars still orbiting far from the main disk, their paths tracing the story of every encounter that's ever shaped us. If you could see the whole local group from afar, it wouldn't look like chaos. It would look like a slow, elegant waltz. Each galaxy moves to the pull of the others, never truly colliding except on timescales so vast they might as well be eternity. The space between them is dark and peaceful, a kind of cosmic meadow where the laws of gravity write their own quiet poetry. Far below you, the Milky Way glows softly, its spiral arms faintly lit against the black. Off to the side, Andromeda mirrors it, slightly larger, slightly brighter, but similar in every way that matters. The two are like reflections of each other, facing one another across the void, destined to meet. Every smaller galaxy around them traces loops, drawn to both giants but loyal to neither, switching allegiances over billions of years as gravitational tides shift and fade. There's something humbling about watching it all unfold without hurry. The universe doesn't rush its dances. It moves in rhythms too slow for living eyes, but perfect in their timing. What feels frozen to us, what seems like stillness, is really motion stretched across eons. Even your own planet, orbiting its star, spinning on its axis, is part of this same choreography, just moving to a faster beat. You think about that connection, the way everything dances together, no matter how far apart. When you walk down a quiet street at night, the atoms in your body are tugged ever so slightly by Andromeda's gravity, just as you're tugged by the moon and the earth and the sun. You don't feel it, but it's there, a reminder that distance doesn't mean disconnection. In the cosmic scale of things, nothing is truly separate. As you drift deeper into the local group, you notice how the darkness itself seems alive. Faint wisps of hydrogen glow in ultraviolet light, tracing the hidden boundaries of these galaxies' influence. The space between them isn't a vacuum. It's a thin, nearly invisible sea, the intergalactic medium. Every particle in it carries whispers of ancient supernovae, oxygen, carbon, iron, dust from long-dead stars now scattered through the vastness. Even the emptiness here is full of memory. Some of the smallest galaxies in the group are fragile things, barely holding onto their stars. They shimmer faintly, their light diffused like fog. Over time, gravity will tear them apart, feeding their matter into the halos of larger galaxies. It's a kind of cosmic recycling, slow but inevitable. Nothing in the universe is wasted. Everything becomes part of something else. You pass a faint dwarf galaxy that orbits the Milky Way like a tiny moon. Its stars are old, most of them billions of years past their prime, glowing dim and red. From here, you can see the tidal forces stretching it. One side pulled gently toward the Milky Way, the other trailing behind like a comet's tail. It's dissolving bit by bit, but it doesn't feel tragic. It feels natural, like snow melting into a river. The stars that once belonged to this little galaxy will soon belong to ours, their orbits joining the greater motion. The local group drifts together as a whole through an even grander structure. The local sheet, a vast, flattened region of space that connects our group of galaxies to neighboring clusters. You can see the edges of that sheet now, like a cosmic shelf stretching in every direction. Beyond it lies the Virgo cluster, glowing faintly in the distance, a promise of more light, more motion, more stories waiting to be told. You realize how strange it is that everything here, these hundreds of billions of suns, these swirling galaxies, these clusters, was once compressed into a single point, smaller than an atom. The idea is almost impossible to hold in your mind, yet it's true. Every motion you see now, every slow dance of galaxies, began with that single expansion, that first breath of the universe. And even now, billions of years later, it hasn't stopped breathing. As you float among these galaxies, your sense of scale dissolves. There's no up or down, no near or far, just patterns repeating in every direction, spirals and orbits and filaments stretching into forever. You could spend eternity drifting through it and never see it all. Yet somehow, despite the enormity, there's a feeling of calm. Maybe it's because motion here has no rush, no competition. Everything just is. You turn your gaze back toward home, and the Milky Way is still there, faint but steady. You can trace the curve of its arms, see the glint of its core. Around it, the Magellanic Clouds still follow in their long, looping orbits, and farther away, Andromeda gleams like a second moon in the distance. They're all moving, all changing, but at a pace that makes human worries feel small and fleeting. In a few billion years, the dance will bring them together. The Milky Way and Andromeda will pass through each other again and again, their stars scattering and regrouping until they settle into a single, massive galaxy. It will be brighter, rounder, calmer, a new home for everything that once belonged to two. And somewhere inside it, perhaps, new planets will form, new life will arise, and someone, somewhere, will look up and wonder about their place in it all, just as you do now. You let that image settle in your mind. Galaxies swirling together in slow embrace, light bending, stars exchanging partners, space itself stretching and folding around them. The cosmic dance doesn't end. It only changes its rhythm. And as you drift quietly through this starlit neighborhood, you can feel that rhythm in yourself. It's the same gentle pattern that beats in your chest, the same flow that carries thoughts through your mind and air through your lungs. The local group moves, the galaxies breathe, and so do you. It's all one motion, one music, one endless waltz across time. As you drift away from the Milky Way's golden heart, the light around you fades into cooler shades again. The airless space seems wider now, calmer, like stepping from a crowded ballroom into the still quiet of the night outside. Behind you, the galaxy still turns in its slow, graceful spin, a luminous whirlpool suspended in darkness. You can see its spiral arms trailing outward, dotted with glittering stars, like beads on invisible strings. And now, for the first time, you can see that the Milky Way isn't alone. If you squint out across the dark, faint smudges begin to appear. Other galaxies, ghostly and soft, scattered through space like faraway lanterns. The nearest ones are our neighbors, part of a little family we call the local group. From this height, you can see them gathered together, drifting through the void as though sharing a quiet conversation. The first you notice are two faint companions, small and shy, following the Milky Way like loyal pets. They're the Magellanic Clouds, the large and the small. The names sound poetic, and the sight of them lives up to it. Each one is a mini-galaxy, irregular and uneven, filled with their own stars, their own clusters and nebulae. The large Magellanic Cloud glows softly, home to the Tarantula Nebula, where new stars are being born in bursts of light. The smaller one is fainter, its shape a little twisted, as if caught mid-step in a cosmic dance. They orbit our Milky Way slowly, bound by its gravity, pulled along in a path that takes hundreds of millions of years. Eventually, maybe billions of years from now, they'll merge into it completely, their stars becoming part of our own. The universe is patient like that. It lets things take their time. Farther out, another shape drifts into view, brighter, larger, more defined. You can recognize it even if you've never seen it before, Andromeda. It's the closest spiral galaxy to us, about 2.5 million light-years away, and it's magnificent. Two great arms curl out from its glowing center, dotted with blue-white stars. If you could look at it from Earth on a moonless night, far from city lights, you'd see it as a faint oval smudge in the sky, easy to miss unless you knew where to look. But from here, it's enormous, luminous, alive. You move closer, not fast, just drifting through the ocean of black between galaxies. The space between them is vast beyond imagining, mostly empty, yet laced with invisible filaments of dark matter and faint gas. The distance between the Milky Way and Andromeda is so immense that even light, racing at 300,000 kilometers per second, takes millions of years to cross it. Every time you look at Andromeda, you're seeing it as it was when early humans were first carving symbols on cave walls. The light that left its stars back then is only now reaching your eyes. And here's the part that always surprises people. Andromeda and the Milky Way aren't drifting apart. They're moving toward each other, slowly, patiently, at about 110 kilometers per second. One day, for a billion years from now, the two galaxies will collide. Not an explosion or a firestorm. Space is too empty for that, but in a grand, silent interweaving of stars and dust. They'll pass through each other again and again, until eventually they merge into a single, larger galaxy, sometimes nicknamed Milkomeda. The thought sounds dramatic, but if you were alive to see it, it would be beautiful. From some far future planet, the night sky would be filled with arcs of light, stars stretched across the heavens in ribbons and swirls. Gravity would choreograph it all, pulling each star into new paths, new patterns. The sun, by then a faint ember nearing the end of its life, might be flung into a different orbit or even drift free into intergalactic space. But life, wherever it exists, would have the greatest view imaginable. A sky filled with two galaxies becoming one. You drift past Andromeda, its glowing center pulsing with the light of 1 trillion suns. Around its edges, tiny satellite galaxies cluster like glittering crumbs. Some of them are merging already, their stars stretching into long tidal streams. You can feel the shared motion of everything. The Milky Way, Andromeda, the Magellanic Clouds, all orbiting a common point in space, all caught in the same gravitational conversation. This little group, the local group, is about 10 million light-years across. It holds more than 50 galaxies, most of them small, dim, irregular ones that never grew large enough to spiral. They're scattered like sparks in the dark, faint and humble, but still part of the same family. Each one contributes its light, its matter, its gravity to the shared balance. The local group itself drifts through space as one body, bound together by the unseen pull of dark matter. It's strange how cozy this feels, despite the unimaginable distances. Every galaxy here orbits within the same invisible halo, like ships moving slowly in formation. The Milky Way and Andromeda are the two giants, each with their own retinues of smaller companions, and between them lies a region of intergalactic space so empty you could travel for millions of years without passing another star. Yet somehow, gravity keeps them all connected like beads on a thread you can't see. You can almost imagine hearing it. The soft tension of those connections, the faint vibration of the cosmic web stretching across everything. Gravity doesn't make noise, but if it did, it might sound like a deep, steady chord played forever. You feel it in your chest, a kind of pressure that's not heavy but vast. As you drift farther from Andromeda, you see the local group from above, the way astronomers map it. Galaxies scattered like droplets in a dark pond. The Milky Way and Andromeda sit near the center, their smaller companions orbiting them in slow, looping arcs. Beyond the outermost dwarf galaxies, there's nothing, at least nothing bright enough for your eyes to see. But even in that emptiness, there are faint trails of hydrogen gas, remnants of ancient collisions, marking the paths these galaxies have taken through time. Somewhere in those filaments, stars form in isolation, little outposts of light in the dark. Some may never be part of the galaxy at all. They'll just drift, quietly burning until their fuel runs out. It's a lonely thought, but not a sad one. There's peace in that kind of solitude, the kind of quiet that lets you feel how big everything truly is. The local group, as vast as it seems, is just one neighborhood in a city far larger than we can see. Beyond it lies the Virgo cluster, a metropolis of galaxies bound together, hundreds of times more massive than our little group. The Milky Way and Andromeda are slowly falling toward it, pulled by gravity across the cosmic planes. It's a journey that will take billions of years, but in cosmic time, that's not so long. From your drifting vantage point, you can see the faint glow of that cluster ahead. Tiny dots at first, then more, until the darkness begins to fill with light again. You realize, as you look around, that galaxies are not rare jewels scattered randomly. They're parts of something bigger, woven into vast filaments that crisscross the universe like glowing veins. Each filament is a river of galaxies, stretching for hundreds of millions of light years, connecting clusters like cities linked by luminous highways. You've come so far now that the Milky Way looks small, a swirl of light among thousands. Yet no matter how far you drift, it never stops glowing, never disappears from sight. It remains a quiet, constant spark in the vastness, and it reminds you of home, not just the planet, not just the sun, but the idea of belonging somewhere, even in infinity. As you float through this intergalactic night, you can almost sense the calm heartbeat of it all. Galaxies move, collide, merge, and fade, but the space between them remains endless and steady. Time here feels softer, slower. It stretches like silk. Every motion feels graceful, unhurried. The whole cosmos seems to be breathing. Inhale, exhale, expansion, collapse, creation, stillness. And as you let yourself drift among these distant lights, your mind settles into the same rhythm. There's no hurry to understand it all. The galaxies will keep moving whether you measure them or not. The stars will keep shining long after you're asleep. All you have to do is float, listening to the quiet pull of gravity, feeling your body grow lighter, your thoughts slower, until you realize that the universe isn't a thing you're looking at, it's a thing you're part of. You float in silence for a while, letting the view settle around you. The local group drifts beneath like a scattering of lanterns in an infinite pond, their lights soft and steady, rippling across invisible currents of gravity. Slowly, your gaze lifts farther beyond the familiar glow of our galactic family, to the deeper dark that lies ahead. It's here, beyond the edges of the local group, that the true scale of the universe begins to reveal itself, not in noise or speed, but in quiet immensity. The black around you isn't empty. At first it seems to be, the stars thinning until only the faintest ones remain. But if you wait long enough, your eyes adjust, and the darkness begins to bloom with faint traces of light. Those are galaxies too, thousands of them, scattered across the next region of the cosmos, bound together in an even larger pattern. This is the Virgo cluster, a gathering of more than 1,000 galaxies pulled into a colossal gravitational family. From this distance, it glows like a faint cloud, but as you drift closer, the scale becomes almost impossible to hold in your mind. The Milky Way and Andromeda, impressive as they seemed, are only small members of the outskirts of this grand structure. The Virgo cluster lies about 65 million light-years away, meaning the light that reaches you tonight began its journey when dinosaurs still walked the Earth. You're seeing the cluster as it was back then, frozen in time, still turning, still creating, long before we ever looked up to wonder about it. As you approach, galaxies fill the sky again, so many that the darkness between them feels less like emptiness and more like soft shadow. Each one is a city of light, home to billions or trillions of suns, each with its own planets, moons, and stories. You drift through them the way a feather drifts through clouds, unhurried, barely stirring the air. One galaxy ahead catches your attention, a massive elliptical called M87. Unlike the elegant spirals you've seen before, M87 is a smooth, glowing sphere, its stars swirling without pattern, like fog made of light. It's much larger than the Milky Way, so big it dwarfs everything nearby. At its center lies another supermassive black hole, thousands of times heavier than the one in Sagittarius, A star. It's so vast that its gravitational influence stretches across entire star systems. Astronomers once pointed a network of telescopes at it and captured an image of its shadow, that same glowing ring of light bent around darkness. To see it from here is mesmerizing, a cosmic ember flickering at the heart of a galaxy that's been alive since the universe was young. You keep moving, passing other galaxies that come in all shapes, grand spirals, glowing ovals, strange irregular clusters that look like smudges of light brushed by a cosmic painter. Some are colliding, their arms tangling in slow-motion embrace. Others are lonely, drifting on the outskirts, caught between gravitational pulls. It's astonishing how alive it all feels, even though it moves so slowly. The universe has no rush, yet it never stops changing. The Virgo cluster isn't just a random gathering of galaxies. It's part of an even greater pattern, a filament of the cosmic web that stretches across hundreds of millions of light years. If you could see it from above, it would look like a glowing lacework of clusters and superclusters connected by faint bridges of light. The Milky Way's local group lies on one of those threads, a quiet suburb on the edge of a vast cosmic metropolis. The Virgo cluster is the heart of our supercluster, called Laniakea, a Hawaiian word that means immense heaven. It's a fitting name because that's exactly what it is, an immense, interconnected heaven of galaxies, stretching across 500 million light-years. You pause here for a while, letting the view sink in. Thousands of galaxies drift past, each one more beautiful than the last. Together, they form a kind of cosmic coral reef, delicate, complex, and full of hidden life. The spaces between them are not dead voids, but gentle currents of energy and matter, faint rivers where gravity has shaped the flow of everything since time began. As you watch, you realize that all this light, every galaxy, every star, is just a bright fraction of what truly exists. Most of the universe is invisible. About a quarter of it is dark matter, unseen but essential, holding galaxies together with its silent gravity. And almost 70% is dark energy, a mysterious force driving the expansion of space itself. You can't see them, but you can feel their influence in the way everything drifts apart, gently but irresistibly, as though the universe itself is exhaling. You drift between two galaxies that seem to be dancing together. Their spiral arms are stretched and twisted, like lovers caught mid-spin. Where they touch, new stars are being born, millions of them glowing hot and blue. The air, or what passes for air here, feels alive with energy. Even though it's vacuum, pure nothing, your imagination fills it with the sound of soft music, the rhythm of creation. As you move on, the density of galaxies begins to thin again. You've reached the outer regions of the Virgo cluster, where galaxies grow more solitary, like lighthouses on distant shores. Some have drifted too far to stay bound, and will eventually sail into the wider void, becoming intergalactic wanderers. Their stars will keep shining for billions of years, little beacons in the endless dark, before fading quietly into silence. There's something comforting about that image. Light traveling forever, even when there's no one left to see it. Looking back, you can see the Virgo cluster glowing faintly in the distance, a swirl of light held together by gravity's invisible hand. Ahead, more structures wait. The Coma cluster, the Hydra cluster, Perseus, and beyond them, the vast superclusters that form the filaments of the universe. Each one contains thousands of galaxies, and each of those galaxies holds hundreds of billions of stars. The numbers stop meaning anything after a while. They're too large, too abstract. You stop trying to count and simply let yourself feel it instead. The immensity, the quiet, the gentle pulse of existence flowing through everything. You think of home again, the Milky Way, our small spiral among countless others. It seems impossibly far away now, a single glimmer in a sea of light. Yet even from here, its gravity still has meaning. It's part of this great web, connected by invisible lines of force that stretch farther than imagination. The local group, the Virgo cluster Luniaka, all of it moves together, drifting through the cosmos as one. It's strange to realize that all of this is in motion. Every cluster, every galaxy, every particle of gas is moving outward, carried by the expansion of the universe itself. The farther away something is, the faster it's moving. It's as if the fabric of space is stretching, pulling everything apart not because of force, but because of what space itself is doing. You don't feel it where you are. The local group is bound tightly enough to resist the expansion, but farther out, it's unmistakable. The universe is growing slowly, endlessly, like a dream that keeps unfolding even after you think it's done. You drift along one of the filaments connecting Virgo to another cluster, following a faint stream of galaxies glowing against the dark. Between them lie immense cosmic voids, regions so empty they make space itself seem alive by comparison. Each void can be hundreds of millions of light years across, vast bubbles where few galaxies exist. And yet even there, in the deepest nothingness, there are traces of something, thin whispers of hydrogen, faint radiation, and the lingering light of the early universe. It's almost hypnotic, this rhythm of fullness and emptiness, light and dark, cluster and void. The universe isn't random. It's patterned like music. The galaxies are the notes, the clusters are chords, and the space between them is the silence that gives the melody shape. You can't see the entire symphony, but you can feel it resonating in every direction, endless, steady, serene. As you drift on, surrounded by this cosmic harmony, you realize that the idea of beyond doesn't really apply here. Every edge leads to something else. Every boundary fades into another. The local group flows into Virgo into Laniakea into the greater web, and beyond that, well, who knows? Maybe other superclusters, other webs, other universes entirely. The scale is beyond imagining, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels peaceful, like realizing you're a single thought in a dreaming mind that has no end. You close your eyes for a moment, and in that stillness, everything slows. The galaxies drift a little farther apart. The light dims to a soft haze, and the vastness feels like an ocean cradling you rather than a void surrounding you. You could stay here forever, floating among these endless worlds and never run out of wonder. The emptiness surrounding you begins to reveal its true texture. What seemed like nothing now shows faint filaments of light stretching across the dark, subtle, and endless. You're not seeing galaxies anymore, not single points of brilliance, but the pattern they form when taken together, the grand structure of everything. It's the universe's hidden web, the invisible skeleton on which all matter hangs. If you could somehow paint the cosmos, this is what you draw first. Not stars or planets or nebulas, but these glowing threads connecting all things. Each one is made of galaxies, dark matter, and gas, bound together by gravity. The filaments crisscross like veins, and where they intersect, clusters bloom like bright knots, huge gatherings of light where thousands of galaxies swarm together. Between the filaments lie the cosmic voids, vast and silent, empty enough to make even light feel lonely. You move gently through one of these filaments, following its faint glow. The galaxies clustered along, it looked like pearls on a string, each separated by millions of light years, yet drawn together by a shared pull. Gravity flows along these lines like a current in an invisible river, carrying matter into denser regions where new galaxies form. It's not chaos, it's symmetry, slow and graceful. You can almost feel the rhythm of it, like the rise and fall of breath. As you drift along, the universe starts to look less like a collection of distant objects and more like one single organism. It has structure, balance, beauty. Every part connects to another. The smallest atoms in your body obey the same laws that shape these cosmic filaments. The same gravity that holds your feet to the ground is the force weaving this immense network of galaxies together. There's something deeply comforting in that thought, the idea that the rules that govern everything out there also live quietly inside you. If you could step back even farther, beyond your current vantage, the entire observable universe would appear like a vast foam, a three-dimensional honeycomb. Each cell of that foam is a void, and the edges of the cells, the thin walls between them, are the filaments glowing with galaxies. The pattern repeats and repeats endlessly, like the ripples left behind by the Big Bang. The light of these galaxies travels for billions of years to reach you. The farther you look, the older the light becomes, until eventually you're seeing the universe as it was just after it began. It's like peering into the past while floating in the present, time stretched and layered in all directions. You cross one of the junctions where filaments meet. The density here is astonishing. Hundreds of thousands of galaxies swirl together, orbiting the shared gravity of a massive cluster. Each galaxy is a living island of stars, but together they behave like particles in a greater whole. You can see hot gas glowing faintly between them, heated to millions of degrees by collisions and pressure. The space inside a cluster hums with invisible energy, radio waves, X-rays, the faint whisper of background radiation left over from the birth of everything. The light here feels different. It's thicker, richer. It carries history. Some galaxies shine blue with the light of young stars. Others glow orange with age. Every one of them is evolving, their stars burning, dying, recycling their elements into new generations. Supernovae flicker like heartbeat pulses, enriching space with carbon, iron, and oxygen. The same ingredients that make oceans, trees, and people. Somewhere, out there, those same atoms may already be forming another world. You drift closer to a massive elliptical galaxy near the cluster's core. Its light is golden and calm, like an ancient sun. Around it, smaller galaxies are being torn apart, their stars stretched into long ribbons by gravity's tidal pull. You realize you're watching galaxies merge, a slow, elegant process that takes hundreds of millions of years. The result will be a larger, rounder galaxy, calmer but older, its star-forming days behind it. Even destruction here feels creative, more like transformation than loss. The further you drift along the filament, the quieter things become again. You're leaving the cluster behind, slipping into the emptier stretches between structures. Here, galaxies grow sparse, scattered like the last lights of a distant city fading into countryside. The dark expands around you until the thread you're following seems to vanish. For a moment, there's nothing, just stillness. Then you see it, the faintest shimmer like frost-catching light. Another filament begins, stretching away into the dark, connecting to another cluster beyond your sight. The pattern never ends. No matter where you go, the web continues, invisible but undeniable. This is how the universe organizes itself, not as a random scattering of stars, but as a network of balance, tension, and flow. If you could listen to it, you might hear the vibrations of this web, not as sound exactly, but as a kind of cosmic hum of vibration in space-time itself. Every galaxy, every particle of dark matter contributes its note, forming a harmony so deep that it might be the closest thing to silence. It's not empty, it's the background music of existence. You start to wonder about the dark matter itself, the invisible substance that makes up most of the web's mass. No one has seen it directly. It doesn't glow, doesn't absorb light, but it's there, its presence betrayed by the way galaxies move, the way light bends around invisible shapes. It's like gravity's fingerprint, unseen but unmistakable. Without dark matter, these filaments would fall apart. Galaxies would drift away into nothingness. It's the glue that keeps the universe together, silent and loyal. Even stranger than dark matter is the dark energy that drives everything apart. It's the opposite force, repulsive instead of attractive, pushing galaxies away from each other, stretching the fabric of space faster and faster. If dark matter builds the web, dark energy is what keeps expanding it. Together, they form a balance, like tension and release in music. Without either one, the universe would collapse or tear itself apart. As you float in that thought, you realize that the web itself is growing. The filaments are stretching, slowly but constantly, carried by the expansion of space. The clusters stay bound by gravity, but the voids between them widen, their silence deepening. One day, far in the future, the distances between clusters will become so great that galaxies will slip beyond each other's light. The night sky will grow empty again, not because the stars are gone, but because their light will no longer reach. But that's a future so distant it's barely imaginable. Right now, the web still glows, alive and connected. You move along its threads, feeling the balance between stillness and motion, creation and distance. You realize that everything in the cosmos, every atom, every star, every life, is part of this same network, stretching not just across space, but across time. And somewhere inside this unimaginable structure, tucked into a quiet spiral arm of a modest galaxy, there's Earth, a tiny planet orbiting an ordinary star, sitting on one of the web's smallest strands. You could travel for 1 trillion years and never find another place exactly like it. That's what makes the universe feel so tender, Its vastness doesn't make us insignificant. It makes us rare. The web fades around you now, its light softening into mist. The galaxies dim, the voids expand, and the rhythm of everything slows. You're not falling or floating anymore. You're simply resting inside the pattern, as if the universe itself has wrapped you in its arms. Somewhere, 1 billion light years away, a star is being born. Somewhere else, one is dying. But here, right now, everything is still. The cosmic web hums quietly beneath that stillness, holding everything in balance, including you. The stars fade for a moment as you drift deeper into thought. You've seen the structure of the cosmos, the galaxies, the clusters, the delicate web holding it all together. And yet one question lingers quietly. How do we even know? How do humans, living on a small planet orbiting a modest star, manage to measure something so vast that light itself struggles to cross it? The answer begins with light, because that's all we really have. Every single thing we know about the universe comes from photons, tiny messengers that have been traveling across unimaginable distances to reach our eyes, our telescopes, our detectors. You're floating through space now, surrounded by these travelers. They've been on their journeys for seconds, hours, centuries, or billions of years. Some left their stars before the Earth existed, and yet here they are, tapping gently against your perception, carrying whispers of where they've been. Imagine holding one of those photons in your hand. If you could slow it down enough to touch it, it would contain everything. Its color tells you how hot the star was when it left. Its wavelength tells you how far it stretched while crossing space, and its brightness hints at how far it's traveled. Every bit of light is a record, a diary entry written across the ages. Back on Earth, astronomers use this language of light like poets who've learned to read between the lines. The first method they discovered was simple geometry, parallax. If you look at a nearby star from one side of Earth's orbit around the Sun, and then again 6 months later from the opposite side, it appears to shift slightly against the background of more distant stars. That tiny change in position, barely a fraction of a degree, can be measured. From that, you can calculate the star's distance using the same kind of trigonometry a surveyor would use to map a field. It's such a small motion that for most of history, it was impossible to detect. The shift is so slight, it's like trying to spot a coin moving a hair's width from 200 kilometers away. But modern telescopes can do it. Satellites like Gaia have mapped billions of stars this way, measuring parallax so precisely they can detect shifts smaller than the width of a human hair seen from across the Atlantic Ocean. But parallax only works for nearby stars, within a few thousand light years. Beyond that, the angles become too tiny, the shifts too subtle. So astronomers needed another trick, a way to measure distances farther out. They found one in the steady glow of certain stars called Cepheids. These stars pulsate, brightening and dimming in a regular rhythm. The longer the pulse, the more luminous the star. By comparing how bright it looks from Earth to how bright it truly is, you can tell how far away it must be. That discovery opened the door to the galaxies. Early in the 20th century, an astronomer named Henrietta Leavitt studied thousands of Cepheids in the Magellanic Clouds. Her quiet, meticulous work revealed the relationship between their brightness and their pulsation. A few years later, Edwin Hubble used her data to measure the distance to a faint patch of light called the Andromeda Nebula, and realized it wasn't a nebula at all. It was an entire galaxy outside our own. That moment changed everything. Suddenly, the universe expanded. What we thought was the whole cosmos turned out to be just one island among billions. You're still drifting now, past galaxies and clusters, thinking about how small a flicker of light can reveal something so enormous. The tools have evolved, but the principle remains. Light carries distance. When it travels through space, its wavelength stretches as the universe expands, shifting toward the red end of the spectrum. This is redshift, another cosmic ruler. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster it appears to be moving away from us. and the more its light is stretched. Astronomers measure this stretching like musicians tuning an instrument, listening for how much the note has changed. A small redshift means the galaxy is relatively close. A large one means it's unimaginably far. And by studying the redshift of thousands of galaxies, we can map how the universe itself is expanding. Even with these methods, there are limits. Some light comes from sources so faint or so distant that we can only guess their distance indirectly. For that, scientists use something called standard candles, objects whose intrinsic brightness we know well. Type I supernovae, for instance, always explode with roughly the same energy. When one of these brilliant events flares up in a faraway galaxy, we can measure how bright it appears and calculate how far its light has traveled. These supernovae became some of our most reliable yardsticks, helping reveal that the universe's expansion is speeding up, driven by that mysterious dark energy. You float among the stars, imagining all those invisible measurements unfolding like layers of invisible thread, weaving a map of the cosmos. Each thread connects one piece of light to its source, tracing the path it took through billions of years. The universe isn't just vast, it's measurable in its own strange way through patterns, ratios, and relationships that repeat from the smallest atom to the largest cluster. You think of the instruments that make this possible: telescopes perched on mountaintops, orbiting satellites drifting high above Earth, arrays that detect not just visible light, but radio waves, X-rays, and even gravitational waves. Each one captures a different tone of the cosmic symphony. Some reveal the cold hydrogen clouds between galaxies, others the brilliant afterglow of ancient explosions. Together, they turn the silence of space into something we can listen to, study, and understand. But there's another kind of measurement, one that's not about numbers at all. It's the feeling of standing beneath the night sky and realizing those points of light are real places, places you could travel to if you had infinite time and patience. Every star is a destination, every galaxy is city, every photon a traveler that made it all the way to you. The act of looking is a kind of participation. You're part of the measurement simply by being aware of it. The idea that we can know so much about what we can never touch is something beautiful. Light is the universe's handwriting, and we've spent centuries learning how to read it. From the flicker of a nearby star to the faint echo of the Big Bang itself, we've built a ladder of knowledge that stretches from Earth to the edge of time. And yet, there's still mystery. For every distance we measure, for every number we calculate, there's always something beyond, too faint to see, too far to reach. The cosmos keeps a part of itself hidden, as if to remind us that discovery is not an end but a conversation. You drift a little farther, feeling the distance in your bones now. Somewhere behind you, the Milky Way continues its slow spin, our home still orbiting the center like a quiet thought circling a dream. Ahead, light from galaxies billions of years away flickers faintly, like old photographs fading at the edges. Each one tells a story, and every story is written in light that has traveled almost forever to reach us. You realize that measuring the universe isn't about conquering its size or understanding its every detail. It's about connection, tiny humans on a small blue planet building bridges of light to places we will never stand, yet somehow can still know. The tools, the equations, the telescopes, they're extensions of curiosity, the same curiosity that makes you look up when you can't sleep, tracing constellations and wondering what lies beyond them. The stars above you glow quietly, not as symbols or mysteries now, but as facts, beautiful facts, measurable, consistent, and real. You could reach out, and if your fingers were long enough, you could trace the light from one to the next, feeling their rhythm, their warmth, their ancient patience. And just as your thoughts begin to slow, you realize something simple and profound. The universe is not beyond understanding. It's just bigger than our lifetimes. Every photon that reaches us is a gift from the past, a tiny piece of truth crossing the dark to remind us that knowledge is light, and light never truly dies. You float through darkness again, and yet it doesn't feel empty anymore. The stars you passed, the galaxies you've drifted beyond, all of them have left something with you. Not just their light, but their time. Every flicker, every glow, every faint beam that touches your eyes is really a story from the past. Light is not just brightness, it's memory. And out here, where distances are measured in years of travel for that light, time and space become one and the same thing. Imagine you're holding a photon again, that same tiny messenger from before. It might have started its journey from a young, hot star just after the universe was born, rushing outward across billions of light years. It's crossed oceans of nothing, brushed past galaxies that have since moved, been stretched thinner and thinner by the expansion of space itself, and now, at this precise moment, it lands softly in your eye. You're not seeing that star as it is, you're seeing it as it was. You're catching a glimpse of ancient history glowing across the abyss. That's the secret of the night sky. Every star you see is a window into a different time. Some are just a few light years away. Their light left when you were still a child. Others are thousands or millions of light years distant. Their glow began long before humans ever existed. And the faintest ones, the deep background glimmer that modern telescopes can barely detect, come from galaxies that shone billions of years ago, when the cosmos was still forming its first stars. When you look up at the stars, you're not just looking outward, you're looking backward. You drift through a region where the light feels older. The stars here are redder, their energy stretched by distance and time. Some are so far that their light has shifted almost entirely out of visible range, into the infrared, like an echo you can only feel, not see. This redshift is the universe's own clock. It tells us how long light has traveled, how much space has stretched, how far back we're peering into history. And the deeper you look, the younger the universe becomes. The galaxies you pass now are smaller, clumpier, more chaotic. Their stars are hot and bright, their shapes still forming. You can almost sense their youth, like watching the first sparks of fire catch in a dark room. You're not seeing what exists now, you're watching what existed when everything was still finding its rhythm. You drift further, and the light around you begins to change again. It grows thinner, fainter, until only a soft glow remains. This is the edge of visibility, the cosmic horizon. Beyond this point, light has been traveling for nearly the entire age of the universe, more than 13 billion years. What you see here is the afterglow of creation itself, the cosmic microwave background, the faint radiation left over from the Big Bang. It doesn't shine like stars do. It's more like warmth, a ghostly whisper of the moment when the universe first became transparent. Before that, everything was so hot and dense that light couldn't travel freely. It was trapped, bouncing endlessly off particles. But as space expanded and cooled, atoms formed, and suddenly, for the first time, light was free. Those photons have been traveling ever since, stretching and fading, filling every corner of space with their quiet memory. You can feel it here, like the echo of a distant hum. It's not loud, not bright, just steady. If you could listen closely enough, you'd hear the pattern of that ancient light, tiny variations that map the seeds of everything that would come later. Galaxies, stars, planets, life. Every hill and valley in the cosmic microwave background is a note in the song of existence, a clue to how the universe grew from chaos into structure. When scientists study this light, they see not just heat, but time frozen in motion. They can measure its temperature, about 2.7 degrees above absolute zero, and find tiny fluctuations, no bigger than 1 part in 100,000. Those fluctuations are the fingerprints of the universe's infancy. They tell us that everything we see now, every galaxy, every cluster, began as a ripple in that ancient sea of light. As you move through this primordial glow, you realize how delicate it all was. A slightly different temperature here, a slightly stronger pull there, and the universe might have unfolded in an entirely different way. The balance was perfect, just enough gravity to let matter clump, just enough expansion to prevent it from collapsing again. And because of that, billions of years later, you're here, drifting in the dark, watching light that's older than time as we understand it. You drift back toward brighter regions, toward the present. The galaxies look more familiar again, spirals and ellipticals, clusters forming along the great filaments of the cosmic web. But now you see them differently. You understand that the light you see from them isn't the same age. Some of those galaxies might not even exist anymore. The light still travels, but its source may have burned out, merged, or moved on long ago. The universe we see is an illusion of simultaneity, a layered collage of different moments from different places stitched together by the speed of light. It's humbling and somehow comforting too. When you look at the night sky, you're seeing the past and present woven together, an unbroken thread of existence stretching backward through time. You realize that everything you've ever seen, the moon, the stars, the faint glow of distant galaxies, is history arriving just now. Even sunlight takes time, about 8 minutes to reach Earth. The warmth you feel on your skin on a summer morning began its journey inside the sun long before you were born. Time moves differently out here. Clocks mean nothing. The light from distant galaxies seems to slow, their time stretched by the expansion of space. If you could watch one long enough, its flickering would fade into a pause, like a heartbeat caught between beats. The farther you look, the slower everything becomes, until at the very edge, it stops altogether. You're not just looking through space. You're looking through time itself, toward a horizon that no one can cross. And yet, there's no sadness in it, only awe, because light, fragile as it is, carries the proof that everything leaves a trace. Every moment, every heartbeat, every flash of existence sends out a ripple, however small, into the fabric of time. Some ripples fade quickly, others travel for billions of years. But none of them vanish entirely. The universe remembers. You drift quietly now, back through the glowing lattice of galaxies, watching as their colors shift and deepen. The blues of young stars fade into the warmer golds of age. Nebulas glow softly, their gases shaped by winds and radiation. The cosmos feels like one great living organism, breathing light and memory in perfect rhythm. It's strange to think that when you look up at the stars tonight, you're also looking at your own past. The same light that guided ancient travelers across oceans, that inspired stories, that touched the eyes of ancestors who looked up in wonder. The photons you see now are the same ones they saw, still crossing the void, still carrying that same message. You're a part of this. You let that idea sink in as you float in the quiet. Light and time are inseparable, woven together like fabric. Every spark, every star, every heartbeat leaves something behind. And maybe that's what it means to be alive in a universe like this. Not to last forever, but to send something of yourself out into the dark, to let your own light join the endless stream of memory crossing space. The stars shimmer faintly as you close your eyes. The darkness feels warm, like a blanket woven from time itself. Somewhere far away, light still travels, carrying the story of the cosmos forward, one photon at a time. The stars around you feel a little farther apart now. The light that once seemed steady begins to stretch, softening in color as it travels across the emptiness. It's as if the whole universe is breathing out, expanding gently, endlessly, without sound. You can't see the motion directly. Space doesn't ripple like water, but you can feel it in the way the distances widen, the way every galaxy drifts a little farther from the next. If you could close your eyes and listen, you might hear the slow rhythm of that expansion, a kind of cosmic sigh that began nearly 14 billion years ago and still hasn't stopped. It's so smooth, so steady, that it's easy to forget what it really means. Space itself is stretching, carrying everything within it along for the ride. This idea didn't come easily to us. For a long time, humans imagined the universe as fixed, unchanging, eternal. The stars were thought to be lanterns on an unmovable dome, the galaxies unshifting in the dark. But then, in the early 20th century, our view began to tilt. Astronomers studying the light from distant galaxies noticed something odd. Almost all of them were redshifted. Their light stretched toward longer wavelengths. That could only mean one thing: they were moving away. Not just a few, not just some, but nearly all of them. The farther away a galaxy was, the faster it seemed to be receding. It was as if the entire universe were swelling, growing larger in every direction. Edwin Hubble saw this pattern clearly when he plotted the data, and his name became forever linked to it: the Hubble expansion. You drift now, imagining that discovery from this same perspective. From Earth, it's hard to picture. We think of galaxies racing away through space, like fireworks bursting outward. But out here, among them, you realize it's subtler than that. The galaxies aren't flying through space. Space itself is expanding between them. It's like dots on the surface of a balloon. When the balloon inflates, the dots move apart, even though they never move across the surface. The space between them stretches, and so does everything inside it. If you could watch the universe's expansion and fast forward, it would look like a slow unfurling of light. The filaments of the cosmic web would grow longer, the clusters more isolated. Over billions of years, galaxies would drift apart until only the ones bound together by gravity remained close. The local group, our Milky Way, Andromeda, and their smaller companions, will eventually merge into one giant galaxy. But beyond that, the rest of the universe will recede until their light fades from view entirely. That's the strange beauty of it. The expansion isn't like an explosion from a center. There is no center. Every point moves away from every other point equally, as if the universe itself were the surface of a rising tide. If you stood on any galaxy, you'd see all the others drifting away from you. The cosmos has no edge, no outside, just endless space growing larger. You think back to that faint cosmic microwave background you passed through earlier, that whisper of the universe's birth. It was the first light to travel freely, released when the universe was about 380,000 years old. Before that, everything was opaque, a hot, dense soup of particles and radiation where light couldn't move more than a few centimeters before scattering. But as the universe expanded and cooled, atoms formed, the fog lifted, and light began to roam. That was the moment time, as we know it, truly began to flow. You can almost see it now, as if replaying a memory you didn't know you had. The early universe glows with a uniform brightness, then begins to ripple, tiny imperfections growing over millions of years. Those ripples pull in matter, and matter forms clouds, and clouds become stars and galaxies. Expansion doesn't stop creation, it fuels it. Without space stretching, without that constant cooling, nothing stable could have formed. Expansion is not emptiness spreading, it's possibility unfolding. As you move through space, you start to feel time differently. The light from nearby stars seems fresh, but the light from faraway galaxies is ancient, stretched thin by distance and age. The deeper you look, the younger the universe appears, as though you're traveling backward through its history. Every photon, every wavelength tells a story of how far it's come, how much the universe has grown since it left home. The farther out you look, the faster galaxies seem to move away. Beyond a certain distance, they move away faster than light itself. Not because they're breaking the rules of physics, but because space is expanding between you faster than light can cross it. You can never reach them, never even see beyond a certain point, because the light they emit now will never catch up to you. It's not just distance that separates you from the rest of the universe. It's time's own boundary. There's something profoundly still about that realization. The galaxies beyond our reach aren't gone. They're simply frozen in light, receding into a forever that we can't follow. It's easy to feel small thinking about that, but there's a kind of grace in it too. The universe isn't a place you can cross or finish. It's a process, a story still being written, and you're part of its unfolding page. As you drift through the growing space, the glow of galaxies seems to pulse in rhythm with your breath. Each one is a reminder that expansion isn't destruction, it's motion with purpose. Somewhere, in another galaxy far beyond sight, someone might be looking out and wondering the same thing, feeling the same quiet awe, realizing that the very act of looking means participating in the universe's endless unfolding. You think about what drives this expansion, and the answer leads you to something even stranger. Dark energy. It's the name we give to whatever is causing the acceleration, the mysterious pressure that pushes space apart. It doesn't behave like matter or radiation. It doesn't clump, doesn't fade with distance. It's simply there, woven into the fabric of the cosmos, a constant hum of repulsion counterbalancing gravity's pull. If gravity is the universe's heartbeat, drawing things together, dark energy is its breath, expanding the space between those beats. Together, they keep the cosmic rhythm balanced, sometimes drawing together, sometimes pulling apart, but always moving. You can't see dark energy. You can't touch it or detect it directly, but you can see its fingerprints everywhere. In the way galaxies drift faster the farther away they are, in the subtle shape of the universe's background glow, in the accelerating stretch of light itself. It's as if the universe has a hidden motive, a quiet urge to keep expanding, as though still remembering that first moment of creation and refusing to stop growing from it. You glide farther, and the galaxies start to blur into soft streaks. You can sense the expansion between them increasing, like the slow widening of a dream. The Milky Way, your home, is a faint shimmer now, just another part of this grand motion. And yet, despite the distance, it feels connected, held in place by the same laws, the same patterns, the same gentle balance. You realize that expansion doesn't erase connection, it stretches it. Every atom in your body is still bound by the gravity that holds galaxies together, still connected to the web of space that links every corner of the universe. You are expanding too, in a way, not physically, but in awareness. Seeing how the cosmos grows helps you understand how time grows, how memory grows, how understanding unfolds. As the darkness thickens again, you let yourself drift slower, feeling the vastness without trying to measure it. The galaxies move quietly, the light stretches gently, and you can almost sense the pulse of the universe beneath it all, a rhythm too deep to hear, but easy to feel if you stay still enough. Somewhere far ahead, the light from the earliest galaxies is still traveling, still crossing the deepening space. You'll never see where it ends, but that's okay. The journey is the beauty. The expansion isn't something to be solved. It's something to be experienced, something that reminds you that even in the stillness of night, everything is moving, growing, and becoming. You take a slow breath, and for a moment, it feels like the universe is breathing with you, one long, endless exhale that began at the dawn of time and will continue long after every star has faded. The space between galaxies grows wider, but the connection between everything, seen and unseen, remains. You drift through the vastness, still feeling the quiet pull of that endless expansion. The galaxies behind you seem to fade into a soft blur, their light stretched thin by time. Ahead, there's only more darkness, and yet you sense something waiting in it. Not a wall or a barrier, but a limit of understanding, a horizon of knowing. It's here, in this deep silence, that you begin to realize something strange about the universe. It has edges that aren't really edges at all. From where you float, There's no border to cross, no edge where space simply ends and nothing begins. The universe doesn't stop. It just keeps going, curving back on itself in ways that are hard to imagine. If you traveled in a straight line long enough, you might return to where you started without ever finding an end, like walking endlessly around the surface of a balloon. It's vast and finite all at once, without walls, but not without shape. You look back at the glowing filaments of galaxies behind you and try to picture it. The universe as a sphere of space-time, not sitting in anything but containing itself. There's no outside, no beyond. It's everything there is, everywhere there can be. The only true boundary is what we can see, the observable universe. Beyond that horizon, space continues, but its light hasn't reached us yet. Those regions exist, but they're forever out of touch, hidden behind the speed of light and the constant stretching of space. This edge isn't like the rim of a map. It's more like a horizon on an endless sea. You can sail toward it forever, but it will always move away as you move forward. That's the strange truth of the cosmos. No matter how far you look, there's always more. Every galaxy you see is surrounded by countless others you never will. The reason has to do with light and time. Because the universe is expanding, the farther away a galaxy is, the faster it's receding. At some point, that recession speed outpaces light itself, so the photons it emits can never reach us. Those galaxies are still there, still glowing, but they've slipped beyond the cosmic horizon. To us, they're ghosts, visible only in the past, never in the present. You drift closer to that invisible threshold, the edge of what can be known. It doesn't look like anything special. There's no shimmer or line, no sound or flash. But you can feel its presence, like standing at the boundary between dream and waking. Beyond this horizon lies the part of the universe that's forever beyond observation, forever sealed in its own moment. It's not an ending. It's a separation between what light can touch and what it can't. It's comforting, in a way, that the universe has no real edge. It means there's no cliff to fall off, no void waiting to swallow everything. Just an unbroken expanse, stretching and curving, infinite in its own quiet logic. The horizon doesn't imprison you. It reminds you that seeing isn't the same as existing. The unseen still lives beyond the reach of your eyes. As you turn your gaze back inward toward the galaxies within the visible universe, you realize how precious that reach of light really is. Everything we know, every star, every planet, every nebula, fits within a sphere about 93 billion light-years across. That's the part of the cosmos whose light has reached us since time began. Beyond it, the universe continues, perhaps infinitely, but its stories haven't yet arrived. You imagine that light, still traveling toward us, carrying new chapters of the universe's history. In a billion years, new galaxies might come into view, their ancient light finally catching up. Others will fade, their light stretched beyond detection. The observable universe isn't fixed. It's alive, changing with every second, growing as light from farther and farther away arrives. The idea that we can never see it all might seem limiting, but somehow it makes the visible universe feel even more precious. Every photon that reaches us is a survivor, having crossed billions of years of expanding space to tell us a story. When you look up at the stars, you're not just seeing light. You're seeing persistence, the quiet triumph of energy refusing to be lost. You drift a little farther into the stillness beyond clusters and filaments, where galaxies thin out into darkness. Out here, the expansion feels stronger. The distance between points of light grows faster than you can track. It's like watching a movie in slow motion, the frames stretching until everything becomes soft and smooth. Time itself feels syrupy, stretched thin like the light. You start to sense that there's more to this horizon than distance. It's also a limit of understanding. Every measurement we make, every observation depends on light, and beyond that horizon, light simply can't reach. The universe hides its secrets not out of malice, but because the rules of nature themselves say, this far and no farther. But humans have never been good at accepting boundaries. So we imagine, we build models, run simulations, study the patterns in the light we do have, and use them to infer what lies beyond. Maybe there are other regions of the cosmos where the laws of physics differ, where gravity behaves strangely, where galaxies form in entirely new ways. Maybe there are even other universes budding off like soap bubbles from ours, infinite variations expanding in their own directions. You'll never see them. No one will. But somehow, just knowing they could exist makes the universe feel bigger. Not emptier, but richer, more intricate. It's like realizing a song continues long after it fades from hearing. As you drift along the edge of the observable, you notice something curious. The light here feels ancient, like the faintest afterglow of a candle that burned long ago. It's so dim it's almost not there at all, and yet it fills every direction equally. This is the cosmic background again, stretched nearly beyond recognition. It's the oldest thing you can see, the universe's own childhood photograph, and the youngest thing you can never reach. The galaxies that once emitted this light are gone now, absorbed into the slow churn of cosmic evolution. Their matter has become other stars, other worlds, perhaps even the atoms in your own body. You are, in a way, built from what lies beyond the horizon. The universe didn't stop shaping you just because you can't see its edges. You are proof that the unseen still matters. You drift back a little, away from the horizon's quiet pull. The galaxies come back into view, faint but warm, glowing like scattered embers. You feel their motion again, the slow spin of the Milky Way, the patient drift of Andromeda, the grand sweep of clusters forming and dissolving over eons. Everything moves, everything expands, and yet everything remains bound together by invisible threads. Even here, near the limit of sight, connection never truly ends. You start to wonder what it means to have an edge that isn't an edge. Maybe it's not just about the universe, it's about how we think. We like boundaries. We draw lines, name horizons, define where things stop. But out here, the cosmos whispers a different truth. Nothing really ends. It only transforms, stretches, continues. What looks like a limit is really an invitation to imagine what lies beyond. The thought drifts through your mind as softly as starlight. The horizon recedes, but the feeling of it stays. A quiet reassurance that mystery isn't something to fear. It's part of the design. The universe doesn't need edges to be complete, and neither do you. You turn slowly, letting the vastness cradle you once more. The darkness feels gentle now, like a soft sea carrying you home. Somewhere behind you, the galaxies keep glowing. Somewhere ahead, light keeps traveling, even into places it will never reach. The cosmos breathes, expands, and dreams. And in that dream, you find yourself drifting endlessly and at peace. The dark around you begins to shimmer again. You've floated past horizons that weren't really edges, crossed distances so enormous they dissolve meaning. And now the universe starts to fill itself back in, the emptiness blooming with light. It happens slowly at first, like sparks glowing in cooling ash. Then more appear, thousands, millions, until the black sea around you is alive with galaxies. Each one is a world of its own, a city of stars suspended in the void. No two are the same, and yet each follows the same quiet rhythm. Stars are born, live their bright lives, and fade. When you look closely, you start to see patterns in their shapes. Spirals, like the Milky Way, arms of stars coiling around a glowing heart. Ellipticals, round and soft, their stars older, their energy calmer. Irregular galaxies, broken, wild, beautiful in their chaos. Together they fill the cosmos with a kind of organized variety, as if creation itself can't resist experimenting. You drift toward a spiral first, because it feels familiar. Its arms are blue-white with new stars, glowing like frost under moonlight. Great lanes of dust cut across them, the raw material for generations yet to come. At its center lies a golden bulge, dense with ancient suns. If you could hear it, this galaxy would sound like the ocean, waves of star formation rolling in slow motion. It reminds you of home, of the Milky Way's own shape curling through the dark. Our galaxy is average in many ways, about 100,000 light-years across, with 200 billion stars. It spins, calmly but endlessly, one complete turn every 200 million years. Around the edges, its stars drift in peaceful arcs, while in the core, near the supermassive black hole, they whirl in frenzied orbits, caught in gravity's deepest grip. From far away, it looks serene, like a pinwheel made of light. From within, it's a storm of creation and destruction. You think of our solar system again, tucked into one of the Milky Way's spiral arms, halfway between the center and the edge. It's an unremarkable spot, really, an ordinary neighborhood in an ordinary galaxy, but from it, we've managed to glimpse the entire cosmos. The irony of that feels almost poetic. The vast universe revealed to creatures living on a small, rocky world orbiting a small, yellow star. You float onward, past our spiral home, toward another galaxy, an elliptical this time. It has no arms, no structure, just a smooth, glowing oval of light. Its stars are old and red, and the gas that once birthed new ones has long since been spent. These galaxies are quiet now, their star-making days over, content to drift through eternity in a kind of cosmic retirement. If the spirals are like young cities full of noise and color, the ellipticals are ancient temples, serene and patient. And then there are the dwarfs. Tiny, dim, and easily overlooked. Some have just a few million stars, others only a few 100,000. Yet they're the most common kind in the universe, scattered like small towns between the grand metropolises of light. The Milky Way has dozens of these small companions, orbiting like fireflies around a lantern. They may be faint, but their stories are vital. They're fossils of the early universe, still holding the clues to how galaxies first formed. The more you drift among them, the clearer the pattern becomes. Galaxies gather in clusters and groups, bound by gravity. Within those clusters, some galaxies are bright and active, others dim and ghost-like. The brightest ones often sit at the centers, feeding on smaller neighbors that wander too close, merging and growing larger. It's a slow process, lasting billions of years, but out here time doesn't rush. Everything happens with quiet inevitability. You pass through one such cluster now, watching as galaxies dance around each other, their paths shaped by the dark matter you can't see. A pair of spirals is merging, their arms twisted into long ribbons of stars. Clouds of gas glow where shockwaves ignite new bursts of star formation. From a distance, it's breathtaking, a slow-motion collision of light and gravity. Up close, it's chaos. But even in the chaos, there's beauty. Each collision reshapes the galaxies, mixing their stars, creating something new from their meeting. You drift past, toward the outskirts of the cluster, where the light thins again. The galaxies here are faint smudges, so far apart that their gravity barely tugs at one another. Yet you know that beyond what you can see, there are more, billions upon billions of them. Astronomers estimate there are at least 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. 2 trillion islands of light, each containing billions of stars, each with its own history, its own chance at life. The scale is staggering. It's like standing at the edge of an ocean and realizing that every drop of water holds another ocean within it. And still, the question lingers. How big is the universe compared to our galaxy? The answer is almost absurd. If the Milky Way were the size of a single grain of sand, the observable universe would be larger than the entire Earth. And even that analogy falls short, because beyond the observable lies the unobservable. regions that exist but remain forever hidden from us. The Milky Way, magnificent as it is only one glimmer in a cosmic mosaic so vast that our minds can barely hold it. But strangely, that thought isn't frightening. It's soothing. Knowing that our galaxy is one of countless others doesn't make it less special. It makes it part of something grander. Every galaxy, every cluster, every glowing smudge of light contributes to the balance of the whole. Without them, the universe would feel incomplete, like a song missing notes. You drift deeper into the galactic sea, and the light thickens again. You're passing through a supercluster now, a web of thousands of galaxies stretching for hundreds of millions of light years. It's almost too large to comprehend. You can see filaments connecting the clusters, faint threads of light forming bridges across space. It's the cosmic web once again, but now you're seeing it filled in, populated by these shining cities of stars. The structure feels alive, like veins carrying light instead of blood. You slow your drift for a moment, letting the scale wash over you. It's easy to forget, amid all this brilliance, that you're still connected to it. Every atom in your body was once part of a star, maybe even one in a galaxy like these. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, they were forged in supernovae billions of years ago, scattered into space, and later gathered again into new stars, new planets, and eventually into you. The galaxies are not distant things. They're your origin story written in light. The farther you look, the more that idea deepens. You're made of stardust, and that dust is made of time. Every glow, every flicker of light around you is another reminder that the universe is both enormous and intimate, vast and personal. When you gaze up at the night sky, you're not looking at something separate. You're looking at yourself reflected on a cosmic scale. The light begins to dim again, softly, like a lullaby fading to silence. The galaxies drift farther apart, the space between them widening as the universe keeps expanding. But their light doesn't disappear. It lingers, patient and eternal, crossing billions of years to reach any eyes that might one day see it. And in that moment, floating among the countless islands of light, you understand something quietly profound. The universe is too vast to conquer, too infinite to fully know, but it's not too vast to feel. It doesn't need to be measured to be meaningful. Its immensity isn't meant to make you small. It's meant to remind you that you belong to something infinite. Every beam of light, every galaxy in motion, every piece of cosmic dust is a thread in the same story. And somehow, you're part of its chorus. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the hum of the galaxies around you. The light fades softly against the inside of your eyelids. And for a heartbeat, it's hard to tell where you end and the universe begins. The light around you feels softer now, as though the universe has dimmed the lamps for the night. The endless clusters of galaxies fade into a fine mist of distance, and you're left floating through something quieter, more mysterious. It's as if the cosmos itself has taken a breath, letting you listen to the hum beneath the brightness, the hidden rhythm, the pulse that keeps it all together. You've seen the galaxies, the vast structures, the web that binds them, but now you begin to sense what lies underneath. The universe is not just matter and motion. It's patterns, vibrations, and invisible forces weaving meaning into the dark. You start to notice those patterns everywhere. The faint temperature ripples in the cosmic background, the repeating shapes of spiral arms, the fractal geometry of gas clouds. The same mathematical rhythm that shapes galaxies also governs the way leaves spiral around a branch, or the way waves fold on a quiet shore. The universe repeats itself, from the smallest grain of dust to the largest cluster of galaxies, as if following a melody too complex for us to hear all at once. You drift through that melody now, past invisible waves rippling through space. These aren't waves of water or air. They're gravitational waves, the echoes of massive collisions. Somewhere long ago, two black holes might have merged, sending ripples through space-time that stretched and squeezed the very fabric of existence. Those ripples are passing through you even now, though they're too faint to feel. They move through planets, through stars, through galaxies, undisturbed, carrying with them a record of what happened billions of years ago. Everywhere you look, the universe seems to be remembering itself. The cosmic microwave background you passed earlier is one kind of memory, light frozen from the beginning of time. But there are others too. The faint distribution of galaxies, the subtle shift in their speeds, even the space between stars. All of it tells a story of how the universe has evolved, how it continues to expand, and what it might become. You realize the cosmos isn't random. It's precise, delicate, almost self-aware in its balance. The patterns grow deeper the more you look. The stars form in clusters because of gravity, but they follow certain laws, probabilities, thresholds, symmetries. Gas collapses when it cools, but not too quickly. Matter collects in halos of dark matter that act like scaffolding, guiding where galaxies will grow. Even chaos has a design, hidden beneath the noise. You begin to understand that science isn't about controlling these things, it's about listening to them, recognizing the music in their movement. The most ancient pattern of all still hums in the background. The cosmic microwave background radiation, stretched now into microwaves, but still carrying its fingerprint of temperature differences. Those tiny fluctuations, smaller than 1 part in 100,000, were the seeds of everything that exists. Where it was slightly denser, gravity gathered matter. Where it was lighter, voids formed. That slight unevenness is the reason stars and galaxies exist. Perfection, it turns out, would have meant emptiness. The universe needed those small imperfections to grow, just as people do. You float closer to the soft glow of a nebula, its tendrils curling like smoke around newborn stars. Within it, hydrogen atoms collide, fusing into helium and releasing light. The same process that powers suns has been repeating for billions of years, one generation of stars giving birth to the next. In the end, those stars will scatter their elements into space, enriching it for the future. Patterns of birth and death, energy and transformation, repeating forever. It's strange to think that even the randomness of your own life fits into that cosmic pattern. The same forces that formed galaxies also forge your body. The carbon in your cells was born in the heart of a dying star. The calcium in your bones came from ancient supernovae. The patterns in the infinite are not just out there. They're inside you. You carry the memory of a universe in every atom. As you drift farther, you notice that the galaxies start to align faintly along invisible lines, shaped by something you can't see. That something is dark energy again, but it's joined by another mystery, dark matter. Together, they make up nearly 95% of the cosmos. Yet we still don't fully know what they are. We can't touch them, can't see them, but we can feel their influence in everything. The way light bends, the way galaxies move, the way structures form, all of it bears their imprint. You pause for a moment, feeling the enormity of that truth. Most of what exists in the universe is invisible to us. We live in the thin sliver of reality that emits or reflects light. Beyond that lies an ocean of unseen forces, shaping everything while remaining forever hidden. And somehow, knowing that makes the universe feel even more alive, not less. It means there's more to discover, more mystery to lean into, more wonder to rest in. You think about how humans have tried to describe this infinite complexity. Equations, diagrams, theories, they're all attempts to translate the music of the cosmos into something we can hum. Einstein once imagined gravity not as a force, but as the curvature of space-time itself, a kind of geometry that bends around mass. Later, others found ways to describe how quantum fields fluctuate, how particles flicker in and out of existence, how the vacuum itself teems with potential. Every discovery reveals another layer, another hidden rhythm beneath the one before it. The universe doesn't seem to mind our confusion. It just keeps unfolding patiently, like a flower opening one petal at a time. You start to feel that patience now, the calm certainty in its repetition. Galaxies collide and merge. Stars burn and fade. Black holes swallow and release. Even destruction here feels rhythmic, purposeful. Out of endings come beginnings, and out of silence comes light. As you drift onward, you sense something vast, something beyond even galaxies. Space itself has a shape, a curvature, a subtle bend determined by the balance of energy within it. The universe could be flat, stretching infinitely in all directions, or it could be closed, looping back on itself, or it could be open, expanding forever. Right now, the evidence suggests it's nearly flat, a delicate balance between gravity pulling in and dark energy pushing out. It's the cosmic equivalent of standing on a knife's edge and somehow never falling. The thought makes you feel weightless, almost transparent. You start to sense that you are part of this pattern too, not as an observer, but as a participant. Your thoughts, your breathing, your heartbeat, all part of the same unfolding system. Every inhale and exhale mirrors the expansion and contraction of the cosmos. The more you think about it, the less separate you feel from it all. The galaxies above aren't far away anymore. They're within you, their light echoing in your veins. Somewhere in the quiet distance, you sense the faint hum of the cosmic background again, steady and low. It's the same hum that existed before there were stars or planets, before there was even light as we know it. That hum is everywhere, in every direction, filling the universe like a lullaby that never ends. It's as if the cosmos itself is whispering. I remember how it all began. You let that whisper wash over you, and slowly, everything seems to blend. The patterns, the galaxies, the light, the dark. The distinctions fade, leaving only the sense of motion, of rhythm, of belonging. The infinite doesn't feel cold anymore. It feels alive, warm, familiar. It feels like home, and as you drift through that endless pattern, surrounded by the quiet hum of everything that ever was and ever will be, you start to feel sleepy. Not from exhaustion, but from peace, the kind of calm that comes when you finally stop trying to measure infinity and just let yourself float inside it. The universe, it seems, has been singing you to sleep all along. You're floating still, weightless, in the rhythm of the universe. The galaxies have faded into a silver haze behind you, and the deep hum of space feels softer now, almost like the sound of air when you close your eyes. You can sense the expansion continuing, slow and unstoppable, but you no longer feel the rush of distance. Instead, there's a calm that seems to settle over everything, a sense that you've seen enough to understand, even if you could never see it all. You begin drifting back toward a familiar shimmer. The threads of the cosmic web become faint again, narrowing until they almost disappear, and somewhere far ahead, you can sense home. The Milky Way, a small, swirling light among billions, but yours nonetheless. You move toward it without effort, carried more by memory than momentum, like being pulled gently toward the sound of your own name. As you approach, you start to see its details again, the spiral arms curling like delicate ribbons, the rivers of dust winding between them, the golden glow at its center. It feels alive, breathing in the darkness, every star a heartbeat. And somewhere inside it, halfway between the center and the edge, is the tiny dot of the sun, an ordinary star giving warmth to one small blue world. That's where you are, or where you were, or maybe where you'll be again when this dream ends. You draw closer until the galaxy's grand structure blurs into single points of light. Then closer still until stars become suns and suns give way to one, the sun, and you see the solar system unfolding like a slow, beautiful dance. The planets move in silence, each tracing its path as they have for billions of years. Jupiter glows faintly, massive and calm. Saturn turns, its rings casting soft shadows. And there, between the warmth of Venus and the chill of Mars, the Earth spins in a quiet rhythm all its own. The sight of it makes you pause. From this distance, it looks so fragile, just a glowing bead wrapped in a thin veil of clouds, floating in a sea of night. Yet everything you've ever known, every sound, every laugh, every dream, lives there. The universe is enormous beyond words, but this tiny sphere is the only place where light has learned how to think, how to look back at itself and wonder. You move closer. You can almost see the continents now, the faint green of forests, the deep blues of ocean. You drift over the curve of the planet, and it feels almost like falling, though you never quite touch. The world is turning slowly beneath you, carrying the day into night and the night into day again, as it always has. Lights flicker on in cities far below, constellations of humanity glowing against the dark. If the universe is a grand symphony, this is one of its quietest and most intricate notes, a place where matter dreams of meaning. You can sense the layers of what you've seen still around you. The galaxies, the clusters, the great invisible filaments that hold it all together. None of it feels separate anymore. The same physics that governs the orbit of the moon also shapes the paths of galaxies. The same atoms that shimmer in the heart of stars make up your body, your thoughts, the air you breathe. The universe is vast, but it isn't distant. It's woven into you as intimately as breath. You let yourself drift in that realization for a while. It's strange to think how small we are, and yet how much we've discovered. From this one little world, humans have learned to measure the size of the cosmos, to trace the light from its beginning, to understand that what we see is only a fraction of what's there. We've sent telescopes farther and farther out, listening for whispers from the edge of time, building a map of existence one photon at a time. And through it all, we've never stopped wondering. You think about that curiosity, it's what brought you here, after all. The desire to understand where we come from, what we're part of, how far the light stretches. That same curiosity exists in every person who's ever looked up at the night sky and felt something they couldn't quite name. It's a universal longing, ancient and familiar, a quiet need to belong to something greater. And out here, you realize you always have. The universe doesn't ask for belief or approval. It simply is, expanding, changing, creating, remembering. And you, tiny, fleeting, miraculous, are part of that same process. You're a way for the universe to look at itself, to feel awe, to fall asleep under its own reflection. You don't need to conquer it or comprehend it completely. It's enough just to exist within it, to breathe, to be aware. You look down again to the Earth, still glowing softly. The clouds shift like silk ribbons. The atmosphere glows with the faintest halo of blue. Somewhere down there, the tide is rising on a distant beach. Somewhere else, someone is looking up at the same stars you just drifted through, perhaps thinking about how small they are, how infinite everything feels. Maybe they're whispering a wish. Maybe they're simply breathing. The space around you begins to soften. The stars fade slightly, not gone, but distant again. You can feel your mind beginning to slow, your thoughts lengthening like stretched light. The rhythm of your breathing matches the quiet pulse of the universe itself, steady, endless, kind. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it, the echo of creation, the faint background hum that never really stops. It's not loud or dramatic. It's the sound of existence continuing, of galaxies drifting, of stars being born and dying in perfect balance. It's the lullaby of reality, and you're part of it. You realize that everything you've seen, the galaxies, the expansion, the endless web, leads back to this stillness. Not the absence of movement, but the deep, unshakable calm that exists beneath it all. The universe isn't rushing anywhere. It's unfolding at exactly the pace it should. And so are you. Let that thought settle. Let it rest in your mind the way starlight rests on water. In the grand scale of everything, you are both impossibly small and immeasurably significant. You are made of the same matter as the stars, shaped by the same physics that governs galaxies, held by the same gravity that keeps worlds turning. You belong here, not by chance, but by the simple fact of being. The earth turns below you. Night slides into dawn, a slow ribbon of light stretching across the curve of the planet. The first rays of sunlight reach into the dark, catching the edge of the atmosphere, and for a moment, it glows like a halo. It's beautiful, fragile, and alive. And then, as the light spreads, you feel yourself drifting closer, as though gravity itself is calling you home. The stars grow faint. The hum of the cosmos quiets to a gentle whisper. The air begins to return, soft and warm. You breathe deeply, feeling the pull of the familiar, the comfort of being small, of being here, of belonging to something infinite but kind. The universe doesn't need you to understand it. It only asks that you rest within it, that you trust its rhythm, that you let it cradle you the way it cradles galaxies and stars. So, as you drift back toward the blue world below, let your thoughts soften. Let the distances blur. Let the light that began billions of years ago settle gently around you like a blanket. You've traveled across the universe tonight, from the smallest spark to the edges of the observable, and somehow you've arrived back where you started, right where you belong. Close your eyes. The stars are still shining, even if you can't see them now. The galaxies are still moving. The light is still traveling. The story continues quietly, endlessly, beautifully. And here, in this small moment, so do you. Sleep well, traveler. You're home among the stars. Sweet dreams.